Welcome to Ugly Truck. Today is transmission day for the 85C10. So we've got a 4L60E out of a Chevy pickup. We went ahead and put new clutches and new pistons in it, and this thing is ready to bolt up into the truck. So let's get started.
All right, in order to get this thing ready to go into the pickup, a couple things you want to look for if you're doing one. The dowels. This transmission will have two dowels that mate between the engine block and the bell housing. So this transmission, the dowel's pulled out with the engine, but sometimes there'll be one dowel here stuck in the transmission. Wherever. It just depends on which side they stuck. So if you're putting an engine and a transmission together, you want to take a look at those dowels. If one of them's missing, or even if both of them are missing, the transmission and the engine, it will bolt together, but you're going to have a really serious vibration, and it'll tear that transmission up pretty quick. So in this case, when I looked at it, it's missing one dowel on the driver's side. So we're gonna tap a dowel into the engine block, so we know that's right. You also want to make sure the torque converter's sitting back in the pump as far as it'll go. When you put one in, you'll feel how far it's in there. But if you get the thing together and the torque converter doesn't move freely, then you know it's not seated up into the pump the way it's supposed to be. So that's pretty simple. And then I always like to put the little horseshoe clips in the oil cooler lines ahead of time, so I don't have to mess around with doing them when it's up in the truck. So that's pretty much it. And it's ready. It'll be ready once we put the dowels in the engine. It'll be ready to go up. So let's do that. All right. So these are the dowels that I'm talking about. Now on this engine, one of them stuck with the motor, and then one of them stuck with the transmission that it got separated from. So we're gonna install a dowel here from another transmission that we had sitting around here, and so then it'll have both of them there. And then that's the flex plate, just in case you aren't familiar with that. The flex plate bolts to the torque converter that we were just talking about on the transmission. So this is the mechanical connection between the engine and the transmission. And it's done with these 3 bolts on that flex plate. Yep. All right, so this engine is held together with 6 bolts. It's got one here, one there. Don't use that one. The very top one, and then 3 more on the driver's side. So we'll raise this up, mate it up to those dowel lines, slip it together, and then start getting one of those 6 bolts lined up.
Tip it back.
How close is it to the bell housing? Can you slide it forward any?
A little bit.
Okay. What's your angle like?
It needs to tip back.
The transmission needs to tilt back?
Yeah.
Alright, so tilt it back.
Angle looks pretty good there. Go up some more now.
Okay, look at all your bolts because you're probably way too high.
Okay.
And it's just because the transmission's tilted off to the left a little.
Oh, okay. So I need to probably come down a little bit and then roll.
Just a pinch. Good. Okay.
I'm on the dowel over there. How does that one look?
It's in the dowel.
Cool.
Alright. So if you're in dowels, start a couple bolts. Go to the other side and start a bolt.
Alrighty.
Alright, so at this point she's got the dowel holes lined up. She's got one of the bolts on each side, so it's holding it together and it's holding it in its dowel. So we'll tighten it up and it'll draw the transmission together with the engine. Then she's gonna draw these down with a ratchet wrench, not an impact, because if you do it with a ratchet wrench, you can tell that if something's binding or if something doesn't feel quite right. So, and she'll do it evenly. She'll go do one side a little bit, and then she'll go do the next side until the transmission is drawn up flat against the engine. Probably pulling on the straps, so go ahead and do that other one that you got started up there. Is it flat against the motor now?
Not quite. Snug. Oh, it's snug. That one's snug. Okay. Okay. Then the very top one.
Yep.
This one?
Yep.
Right? And then that one we don't use.
Right.
Okay. Okie dokie.
And then do the other ones just in case.
Just snug them up a little bit.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Alright, and get rid of the strap. There you go.
And what's nice about these cross members is that they actually sit on the frame on that side, so you can slip it up like that. And then just get a bolt started on this side. So once you got it slipped up and sitting on the frame on the passenger side, you take your bolt, slide through one of these holes here. Okay. And get a nut on the other side. So now we can let the weight of the transmission and engine come down on that cross member. And pull it out.
Yep. Cool.
Alright, so last two bell housing bolts go through here into the oil pan.
So once the transmission's bolted up to the engine, I took this little inspection cover off for the torque converter, and you can reach in and move the torque converter. And if you can move the torque converter freely, then you know that it's sitting in its pump properly, and that it's not pushing against the pump. So, and then we'll rotate this torque converter around and line it up to the flex plate here in just a little bit, and then bolt the two of them together.
Alrighty, so these are your torque converter bolts. They got a Allen head and a hex head on them. Makes them easy to figure out which bolts are which. So before you put them in, I'm going to put just a little bit of Loctite on them, because once they're in there, you don't want them coming loose.
A little bit or a lot?
A lot.
Okay.
Okay, so with the starter out of here, gives you plenty of room to get to your holes in your flex plate and the torque converter behind there. If your hands are little like mine, you can get behind there and rotate that torque converter as you go. Otherwise, you got the inspection cover over here that you can reach through. So, if you can see there, I've got a bolt hole lined up there. I'm gonna sneak this guy through here. And I'm gonna just get them started first. You can reach your fingers behind and feel as you draw the torque converter up to the flex plate. You want to leave it a little loose so you can get your other ones lined up. Alright. Snug. A little less than snug. Okay.
Alright, you show, I'll rotate it around and tell me when to stop.
Okay. So he's going to rotate the crankshaft. And we're going to stand here and wait for another hole to come up. Alright, right there. So there's our next hole. Grab another bolt. Alrighty. Alright. A little bit more. That's good. Right there. Perfect. Alright, so that's our third bolt. So this one we can tighten down. So, got our torque converter bolts and all the bell housing bolts. So, at this point, we're ready to put the starter on. But the engine and transmission are officially bolted up. Alright, so on your starter, you got this little cover. It's got one little 10mm bolt. Goes into that hole right there. So, just line that up. Put that little guy in there. And line your starter up here. Just like that. You got two big long 13mm bolts. Poof, that's the starter.
Okay, so that's pretty much the height that it's going to sit at. So that's also its length that it's going to be. So the way we have it now, we can put the drive shaft up and measure it. So we've slipped the drive shaft in to there's usually right about here is about an inch play right there. So I set it right there, and then we'll come back and we'll hang the drive shaft up right about there. And then we're going to lower it down on the ground, and I'll take a measurement from the center cup of this U-joint to the center of this U-joint on the drive shaft, or on the axle. So, and then we got to do it with the truck sitting down on the ground, because as the truck sits down, this raises up and it changes the distance between the drive shaft and the transmission, so, or the differential in the transmission, right? Okay.
Looks like 70 and a quarter.
Okay. Raise it up and measure what the drive shaft is.
It's like 69 and probably 3/8.
Why is it?
Yeah. Turn it to where I'm looking at the Oops. I mean, it'll go in there.
Yeah, let's put it together and see what it's like. Imagine if we didn't have a hoist.
All right, so we just went to measure for our drive shaft, and lo and behold, it actually fits. So we did a little bit of research, and turns out the TH350 transmission that we pulled out of here had a 9-inch tail housing on it, and the difference in length between the TH350 with the 9-inch housing and the 4L60 is only a 1/16 of an inch. So it's not enough that we're gonna have to have this drive shaft cut or lengthened. So that was pretty sweet. So I believe we are wrapping it up for today. Still need to tackle the fuel system, the exhaust, and all the wiring. So we'll have plenty more videos on this. If you guys like what you see, please subscribe. Make sure you hit the little bell and you'll get a notification when we upload our next video. And thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time. Ripley, come here.
Come here. You in here? Bring it here. Take a second, and I'd like to introduce you to my daughter. This is, what's her name? Oh, Sydney. Sydney, come over. Say a few words in front of the camera, please. Say something to the people who love you. Come on.
I don't want to.
Come on.
No.
Say something.
Hi. No.
Yes, this is Sydney. She's a future auto mechanic. She does all the paint and body work here. Right?
Sure.